let's get into these We Are Here's. T, can you tell them what We Are Here? What does that segment mean? How can they find it? How can they join in? Like,
Facts, 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 facts. All right. So We Are Here is a segment of Chapter 30 that we like to do. For those of you, the listeners, the streets, that have a topic that you want us to touch on. Now, it doesn't have to be like a whole, paragraph that you write to us.
mm-hmm.
Like, if there's just and that's our last two We Are Here's actually. Um, if there's a topic. So if you want us to talk about finances, then just say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
we want you to talk about finances. It doesn't have to be a whole big thing.
Yeah.
But also if you do want us to give you advice on a specific situation,
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely reach out to us. Now we can only give you what we're not licensed, we're not therapists. We can only give you from our own experiences. We can only help in the way that we can help. From our own experience. So
Yeah.
if there's anything on your mind, if you want to engage with us in any type of way, as far as these We Are Here's go, you can always send us an email, the chapter 30 podcast at gmail.com, and any of the social media links that Miss K just talked about.
Yeah. You can DM us on Insta, Facebook, wherever. We everywhere. We on TikTok, the Chapter 30 podcast on TikTok. Having a blast over there. We're everywhere. So just hit us up. They can definitely stay anonymous. Or not. We choose to keep them anonymous, but if for some reason you don't want it that way, that's cool too.
Mhm.
Yeah, so let's go. Cause girl, you was going in and I'm like, yo, she's like answering these We Are Here. Let's get there. Like
It was so hard. This is the episode that ties together. Like literally from
yes.
beginning to end, things are
Yes.
tying together. So it was meant to be.
It really was.
And thank you for your work on this episode because I just ended up happening to be that everything you picked out just flowed together. So
No problem. And without even trying, but that's how the episodes go with whenever we do
exactly.
them. Yeah, we're highly blessed.
All
Super
right. So
thankful.
I guess since this fact, I think since this is the last thing I said, we'll start off with was there like a whole paragraph with this one or was it just we're
No,
just talk about
all she
one-sided
said
friendship?
was, "Can you talk about one-sided friendships?" I'm like,
All right, bet,
okay.
bet, bet, bet. So I think that me and Miss K have dealt with this. Um
Yes.
in And honestly, I think this is part of the reason why our friendship has lasted for
Mm-hmm.
so long is one, hashtag expectations. I
Yeah.
don't think that we put expectations on each other to be
No.
like, oh, we have to talk this day at this time or blah, blah,
No.
blah. When we talk, we talk. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not, we don't have those expectations. We know that the other one has life going on. So we don't necessarily talk every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she'll hit me up, I'll hit her up. Like whenever I think about her, I'll make sure that
Yes.
she knows about it and vice versa. We both pour into each other.
Yes.
Randomly I'll just be like, she needs to hear something good. So I'll just like, send her some good words of affirmation. And
Mm-hmm.
again, vice versa. Like all of
Yes.
what I'm
Vice
saying
versa.
is not just me to her or her to me. Like I think we're very mindful of, what we say to each other, how we say it, and the amount that we're putting into the friendship. So I think that's one reason, just to say the opposite of a one-sided friendship.
Right.
um and if you agree, I'm sure you do, but
I do. You know,
if
I
you have
do.
anything else to add to that.
I think that's why it pours over into the podcast because our friendship has been so balanced for all these years,
Yeah.
over a decade. The podcast was bound to be that way. I'm not saying that it's easy because life be life and we both have had our seasons over the friendship, but we've always respected and you know, as far as like with the podcast and even with the friendship, as far as like just keeping that balance, I would say, why did I bring the podcast up? I would say you want to make, I was going to say, I could see how with podcasts or with certain businesses, things can be one sided because if the friendship is already kind of that way or the partnership is already kind of that way, it kind of just spills over and like people kind of just get comfortable. There's no communication.
Hmm.
So I can definitely say I'm grateful that our business and our friendship, we both pour into it.
Hmm.
So there's no resentment, there's no issues. And it's just like, oh, okay, one less worry in the world because with T, it's just like I don't have to worry about her being a selfish person. And I think when you're in a one-sided friendship, somebody is probably being selfish. They could be having a season, because again, seasons do happen and people do go through things. But sometimes, let's just face it, sometimes that person is just being selfish.
I think like there's some keywords that you use that were just super important, like balance and like we're saying, pouring into it's like a relationship. Like you wouldn't want to be in a relationship where you're the only person pouring into it and giving all of you and you know you're not getting anything reciprocated. So being in a friendship, I think it's even worse than that because that's sometimes relationships don't last forever and you know your friends are who's there. But to be honest, I have a very, very small circle. And I don't think there's a friendship that I have in my life that's as balanced as the one that I have with Miss K.
Thank you, T.
You're welcome. And I think that's just because of who you are. Like, you know, I think when you have friendships or relationships, like you have to, there's a part of you that just doesn't want it to go. Like you don't want it to end. You're so invested.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, let me make sure I do this. Let me make sure I do that. And if you don't have somebody in your life that's like actively trying, to me, that's draining. And I don't get around it. Like, if you're not even trying to, it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm trying to see you. Me and Miss K go years without seeing each other.
Exactly.
But one of the happiest moments in a few weeks is Miss K sent me this beautiful card. And like, that was everything, you know, like, but that's her, you know, that's her showing she's invested in the friendship. And so you need people to show that they're invested.
And it
doesn't have to be,
you got to be intentional with your friendships.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be this big show of a big show. It doesn't have to be, but like a phone call, a text here and there. Like, you know, my sister, for example, we don't talk every single day, but she'll text me every once in a while and be like, you okay? That means everything to me.
Awesome.
Because there'll be times where I'm ghost for a year and I don't hear from certain people. But like just knowing that somebody's thinking about you, like, but yeah. So we going deep on this, but
we are. No, but that are you okay text when you're not okay?
What?
When it's dark and somebody's like, you good?
Yeah. So what do you think are, I know I have a few, or at least one, but what do you think are some things that attribute to a one-sided friendship? I know one of the things that you mentioned was one of the people being selfish. Is there anything else that you think might attribute to that?
Definitely. I wrote this little paragraph out. I'm gonna read it real quick.
Okay.
It says, if you find yourself in a friendship that you feel is one-sided and you, if you find yourself in a friendship that you feel is one-sided, you should do some reflecting, try to be objective. Have you guys just grown apart? Is this person going through a different season in their life where they can't show up for you how you are used to them or how you may want them to? Are your expectations too high in this friendship? Are you expecting them from them or you from them? Have your values in the friendship changed? Have theirs? I think if it's bothering you, it's worth talking about it with that person, and hopefully you guys are able to have a genuine and mature conversation and see where you go from there. Sometimes people grow apart. It's no love lost. That season is just over.
That was a whole lot.
But what was your question? I want to make sure I answered it.
My question was, what are some things that can attribute to a friendship being one-sided?
Okay. I think, so that paragraph, I definitely wanted to share that. But I also think sometimes people think the length of a friendship is more important than the health of a friendship.
Ooh,
just like we do with our hair. I don't want to cut it. It's
say that.
Sometimes you got to cut the ends. So I feel like sometimes you can get so caught up in that. I did that too. And it's like you're holding on to something that literally is killing you. And it's not always about the length. You know, I'm 34 now. I've evolved. I've had friendships that were way shorter than others, but the health of those friendships and the fact that we both were pouring into each other and we both wanted to be in each other's life and we wanted to show up for each other equally, it worked out. And again, everybody has a season. People go through anxiety, depression, grief, loss. Like people go through things, losing a job, moving. So it's not always going to be two bubbly people showing up, two positive people showing up. But sometimes T and I will just text each other. We ain't talking in weeks, but like she said, she'll send an affirmation, or I'll just be like, "You crossed my mind. I thought about you last night. Like, love you,"
Mm-hmm.
and vice versa. That happens a lot. We don't have this full convo, but just knowing, like, just those check-ins, I feel like those have kept our friendship going. And then we'll have times where
Mm-hmm.
it's a full-out freaking voice memo fest. So
Mm-hmm.
that works for our friendship. Some friendships, they do talk every day. They talk on the phone
Mm-hmm.
every day. They start their mornings off talking. Some friendships, you know, they don't talk in years, but when they get together, it's like, oh my god, they pick up where they left off at. So it's
Mm-hmm.
understanding what your friendship needs. And it's, I really think, like, it's, you said what are some I want to make sure I'm answering. You said what are some things that attribute to one-sided friendships?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's like the opposite of what I'm saying. It's when you don't pour into that person, you don't check on that person, you don't make them a priority. I've had friends that made other friends more of a priority than I ever was to them. And I
Mm-hmm.
made them a priority over others, and then others was actually making me a priority. So I had to reevaluate where I place people in my life, T. I had to pray on it. I
Mm-hmm.
had to pray for years. And I had to really sit back and I start showing up, and I start pouring in more into those who show up for me. And it's been
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. It's a journey, and it's painful. It's painful because, but it's okay. Like, it's okay to realize roles can change. Maybe this person was your best friend, maybe now they're your close friend, maybe they're your associate, maybe y'all aren't friends, but it doesn't always have to be beef. So I
Mm-hmm.
think all of this kind of answers your question. I hate when I play back these episodes and I'm like, Corinne, the tangent really, but I
No,
think
you are in your bag right now, and everything you're saying, I'm like, I can apply it to my own life, and I'm pretty sure there's people listening right now that's like, girl.
because you know how I am about friendships.
I know.
You know.
One thing I want to mention is that I'm just going to say me personally, I know that I've been different to different people.
Oh, yeah.
And um so I know that what you see in Miss K in a friend, somebody else may not have seen that and may say like she's a bad friend or she's not a good friend or blah blah blah. And I think that goes along with seasons or
Mm-hmm.
you know, you may have met me when I was just not in a good season.
It be like
And
that.
we're not, so that goes along with like we're not all perfect. Like we're
We're
not all,
not.
everybody has a different mindset, everybody has a different way
Mm-hmm.
of seeing things. um Same thing as like there's a quote that goes along the internet and it's like um who, if you know me 10 years ago, you don't know me now or something like that. Like you have no clue of who I am now or what I'm
That
capable of
part.
now. um and that's okay though, like
It's
it's okay.
okay.
Yeah, but like
It's
going
okay.
forward, I'm very mindful of how I am to people and how people are to me. Like I have, for me, I have people in different categories
Definitely.
in my brain. So it's like I have super close friends, I got close friends, I got you know, acquaintances, you know, and everybody's in a different type of box, I guess you would say. um and that just depends on how much information I'm gonna give you, I guess.
Mm-hmm,
I guess the
girl.
only difference is,
It's
well, no, I would
levels.
say the two differences would be with each level would be the more information that I give
Uh-huh.
and how much more I pour into you.
Mm-hmm. That's
Um,
facts.
yeah, I think that's kind of how I would, you know, separate the different levels.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a friend right now that I can't talk to them very often because it's draining.
Oh.
I can't talk to them very, like I can talk to them every once in a while, and it's because they have a completely different mindset than I do. And so I
Mm-hmm.
don't relate to
Oh.
what they're talking about. And so for me, that conversation is null and void. Like it's so pointless for me to have this conversation with you because we have different mindsets.
Mm.
And the mindset I'm talking about, this particular person, they have their mindset is city girl type mindset, like um you know, loving hip hop type of like all of
Okay.
that shit. That's
Mm-hmm.
not my mindset. So like us trying to have a conversation doesn't work because it's shit you saying doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't relate to it, I don't agree with it. um and the shit that I'm trying to talk about, you think you can't relate with.
Right.
So it's like
Right.
me trying to like, why are we even holding on to this is how I feel like. But
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
yeah, for real, honestly.
Do you feel like that person can like just be like an associate, like, or do you feel like the friendship is just dragging on?
I feel like it's cool. I feel like how it is right now is cool.
Okay.
As far as like not like conversing all the time. Like, this is not a person I could talk to every single day because I'm not learning from it. Like, I need to be, whenever I'm very mindful of the conversations that I have with people. I don't like small talk.
I hate small talk.
I don't like small talk. I don't like not taking something away from a conversation. And so if I'm looking for like a, not looking for, but sometimes you do need just like a quick, funny conversation or whatever, or like, and that's cool for that. But like, I feel like I would be to have a conversation like that every single day would not be beneficial to me, to my growth as a person.
And that's okay that you feel that way.
Like, even if we're not recording, okay, whenever we do our like voice memos or something like that, I'm like, damn, like it's crazy how much my mind can expand, or like I'm like, oh, I'm learning from something from her. Or she's learning from me, vice versa, whatever it is. Like, it feels like after I come away from that conversation, I felt like it was purposeful.
Yeah.
And that's what's important to me in friendships. Like, and it doesn't have to be that way for everybody. But for me personally, I want to feel like my experience with you is purposeful, and I'm not just talking shit or gossiping, or like, that's not for me.
But that's your values. That's a part of your values. And you have to set those boundaries and values, that align with you and what you want to happen in your life. So that's okay. I don't think that's a bad thing. So it could be that season has changed. Sometimes people outgrow people. That's okay too. Yeah. What do you think about friends that another person mentioned to me? The friends that always invite you to baby showers, weddings. Basically, she named things that you have to buy a gift, but they don't invite you to like, coffee, brunch, come over to the house. Like it's just, they only invite you to things where it's going to benefit them. And I was like, girl, that's a thing.
Oh, weird.
They pop out, like you said, when it's time for them to benefit or time for them to vent. But when it's your season or your time, they quiet as most. And I was like, girl, that's a whole podcast episode. And when she mentioned us, we weren't recording. But in my head, I noted it. So it kind of ties into this. What do you think about those kind of people?
That, to me, that don't sound like somebody that wants to be a friend. That sounds like somebody want to sponsor.
Ooh.
Or either that, or it's like, when let's say you have a wedding or something like that, like you just invite as many people as possible just because you want it to look bigger. You may not even have talked to that person in years, but you just want as many people there. It may not even be about the gift. It's about the look of it, the appeal of having as many people there as possible to make it look bigger and better.
That's true.
I like, is there bad intent in that? I don't think always. I think that's a lot of people just do that. I think people just invite people that they know places to bigger events. Like, because like, how do I put this? When you go into brunch, you're not always inviting everybody else to brunch.
Right.
And so maybe, and I think I've done this, I think I may have misrepresented where I stood in somebody's life. So I may have thought I was a close friend of somebody, but when it and then when it came down to like serious events in their life and I'm not there, I'm like, okay, maybe I misjudged how important I was to that person.
That's true.
And so that, instead of us being like, oh, they only invite us to baby showers and stuff, maybe that's just your spot in their life, and that should be a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, where do you see me in your life? Like, I thought I was like sister type of bond.
Expectations, yeah. Because if you're not okay,
I'm getting acquaintance vibes. So it's like, And like I said, I've been there. Like I thought I was like super close to somebody where I would call them my
Girl.
sister. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, well, if I, and then it comes to expectations. Like if I was in that
Yeah.
spot, I would have done this.
Yeah, exactly. Are you
Hmm.
expecting you from them or them from them? Yeah, like
Exactly.
that's true. That's a good point.
What do you think about that?
I think having a conversation about stuff like that is super important too, because if you're sitting there and you seeing them doing like the little small intimate events and you're never invited and you want that more one-on-one, but it's not happening, there's a disconnect.
Yep.
I don't know if they think maybe you don't want to go. I don't know if you are just a placeholder. Like, I don't know. I think each situation obviously is going to be different, but that's something to pay attention to.
Hmm.
If you're not, it's you gotta sometimes you gotta look back and just look at how at where people put you in their life.
Yep.
And if you're not okay there, you don't have to be there. Whether you have the conversation or not, like it is important to see just the effort that people put in. And yeah, I'm just thinking of like few situations.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's happened to me before too. Like we say hashtag expectations.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I've done a lot of self reflecting, and I've just really I'm at a good place in my life with friends where my expectations are adjusted. Um, yeah, things are looking are looking good, and I think I've talked to you about this a few times. And just over the year, this has been an issue for me, but I feel like I'm in a good place now, where it's just like, okay, cool, like, but I'm not gonna show up for people on 200 if
Right.
you're showing up for me on 25, because that gets old and you do start to feel a certain way.
And people get used to that.
They get used to it,
Hmm.
and that's happened. So yeah.
Hmm. I think I agree with myself as well. Like I'm in a good spot now
Mm-hmm.
there. So me, big change from me early 20s. Like you knew me, social butterfly, like
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
lots of
Big
groups of friends.
I had multiple groups of friends.
Mm-hmm.
And then this day I'll be with this group and the next day I'll be with that group. Huge difference to where I am now. And then for like I was saying about inviting people to your wedding, for me it was the amount. For me it was the amount of friends I had, the amount of people I knew, and
Mm.
it's now transitioning into the quality of friendships
Mm-hmm.
and the content that's
Yeah.
being brought to me inside of the friendship. So back then, I was more in my party phase. And so, okay, the bigger the party is, the better. And I started realizing that people just wanted to be around me because I was fun.
Mm.
But, besides that, besides for, party queen tea, nobody asked how I was doing. Nobody knew, or worried about what I was going through or anything like that. And so I started trickling down from there. Like, okay, so once
Mm-hmm.
I got out of that party phase, it's like, okay, who am I really talking to after the party's over?
Mm-hmm.
And
Who's checking on me the morning after? Like, you made it
exactly,
in, you
exactly.
good? Like that text your sister sent you with the you okay? Like people don't realize how important that is. Like having people that care about you and check in on you. You never know when you're checking in on somebody and what that means. Because I strongly believe that God puts it on our heart to check on people
Mm-hmm.
at the
Mm-hmm.
right time and to do certain things at the right time. Because I swear,
Yep.
every time I'm like, I get this strong feeling about somebody, and if I reach out to them, they're like, "Thank you for reaching out to me. Like, I needed that." And
Yep.
it's like it's not a coincidence.
Yep. Absolutely. But again, even those friendships that I was talking about before, like, well, I guess quote unquote friendships, like that was the season. That was the time of my life. And I'm not looking back on it like, oh, they wasn't a real friend or
Right.
they were this way. Again, I was in my 20s. So those are completely different people now that I just, I don't know.
Right.
But
Right.
that was I don't look back on it and be like, oh, damn, that wasn't really a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that comes, I think that's the type of mindset that we should be having going forward too.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, even when it comes down to like, we feel betrayed or we feel like somebody's
Mm-hmm.
loyal to us and something, like in my mind, I think a lot of that is just unspoken resentment.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
people not talking about how they really, really feel. It's people setting expectations that don't nobody else know
Mm-hmm.
about.
Yep. It's lack
And
of
then now all of a sudden
boundaries.
you branded somebody as disloyal, or they betrayed
Yep.
you, and it's like I can't betray something I don't know about. And that's
Uh-huh.
why I said early on, I set those boundaries really early, because if something like that comes along, then now I have something, a leg to stand on. I
Right.
told you that a year ago, like, I don't like that shit, and now you doing it.
Right. And you know that they know, and you can act accordingly, whether you want to talk about it or whatever it is, but at least they know. But speaking on those things is super important. And I think, when we're young, we have friendships and there's a lot of things we don't touch on. I think there's a lot of miscommunications. I think if you ask people that I used to be friends with about me 10 years ago or however many years ago, may have a different story than I have. Like, there's always these different sides to every story. And I
Right.
respect it, and I'm okay with it, but like we're all gonna have our own different experience of things. You can look at something and be like, well, I thought this happened, I thought this, or no, I didn't get that text. Well, there's always so much miscommunication on things. So it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes it is intentional. Sometimes there are people out there that are just draining,
Girl.
and that there are people out there. It's not just in relationships. There are
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic friendships.
Mm.
There are people out there that know the type of energy that you bring, and they just want it. And
Girl.
so, yeah. So regardless of, if you are, the buck starts with you, right? Like, you have
Mm-hmm.
to express what you're feeling. Like, you
Yeah.
cannot hold anybody accountable for something that you never said.
Right.
um and people are not mind readers, like, as
Nope.
bad as we want them to be. People are just, I mean, some people can read minds, but
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, most people are not mind readers. And so if you are not vocally saying how you feel, one, that's on you, and you can't hold
Mm-hmm.
nobody against that.
Mm-hmm.
You can't hold that to nobody.
Yeah.
But after you've said something that is on your mind, or if brought something to somebody's attention, and you're still continuing to feel that way, and it's still like, we gotta learn when to let things go.
Yeah.
Hmm. It's okay.
Yeah. There's new beginnings out there for you.
Yep.
Yeah. This kind of all brings us to our next We Are Here.
Oh my, these are some heavy ones.
They are. I hope y'all are enjoying it. I
We
am.
said we done with the spicy. Let's get to some heavy shit.
Yes.
That's what's up. All right. So the next one is, the streets asked us to talk about someone bringing down your spirits. Okay, you want me to start?
Yes. And please bring up that meme you posted, because I was like, ooh, that reminds me of that We Are Here.
Oh shit! I said I was going to save that, didn't I? Hold on.
It might be in our messages.
Cause you definitely
Oh,
told. I
yeah.
could have. You got it. I just sent you my
Uh,
location by accident.
hold on.
Hold on, streets.
Oh,
Hold
it
on. Hold on.
disappeared, but it was a really good meme, and it kind of went with everything that she's about to.
Oh, it said something about. I didn't save it, but I know what you're talking about. It said something
Mm-hmm.
about, like, I do not have time to be around anybody that's, like, negative, has bad energy,
Mm-hmm.
like, all that type of stuff. Hold on, let me go. I might have saved it in my screenshots. Hold on. Nope, I didn't save it. I don't know why I don't listen.
So I was
Why
gonna
did I not
screenshot it and
listen?
save it in our notes too, but it's okay. So let's
All
talk
right.
about the.
So it's someone bringing down your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is actually the same thing I said in the one-sided friendships one. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we allow people to do things like, um, if you, so I've had this happen a lot, right? I'm by nature, I'm a optimistic person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a, like, looking at the bright side of things. Like, I don't like to dwell on anything negative.
Mm-hmm.
It irritates my soul when, like, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. Somebody I work with is a super negative person.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were sick one day, and so I said, they went to call out the next day. So I said, that's fine. And so I said, hope you feel better, just real light. and like made it such a big thing. Like, I don't know, we'll see. And I'm like, you have a cold. Like, you're gonna feel better.
Right.
You're not
Right.
dying. And then she like went even deeper and it was like, like just wanted to be negative so bad.
Like, woe is me.
Exactly. And so that type of energy I don't fuck with. Like, I'm not gonna. I naturally like flip shit whenever I hear something negative, or sometimes I don't realize stuff is negative because sometimes it's hard to realize when something is negative. But as soon as I realize either one, I'm being a part of something negative, or two, I hear something negative, I automatically try to flip it because I don't want that on me or near me or around me. So this girl I was talking about specifically, like I kept trying to flip it, and she kept wanting to be negative so bad. So at that point, I was done. I was like, well, you know what? You want to be sick, girl, then be sick. But so that goes along with what I'm saying as opposed, like you have so much power in the energy that you have around you and the energy that you will allow to penetrate you.
Yes.
And so we can't allow people to bring down our spirit. I know it's harder, easier said than done, but you have the power to accept it or to deny it. So, like I said, that's what works for me is every time I realize it in the moment, I'm like, oh, nope, let me flip this. Let me flip this.
Right.
Even to myself, even if it's not somebody else, if I'm doing it to myself, I'm like, oh, girl, nope, change your mindset. Think about something else. But if that's not working, if that whole conversation flip is not working, this might not be the best advice, but I'm quick to bounce. I'm quick to be like, no, I'm not around that. Like, I'm not going to be around nothing that is not beneficial to me.
I love that for you.
Like I'll be out because I've had this is not even a person. This is like I had a whole business that was bringing down my spirit. A whole company that was bringing down my spirit. I'm not like, I can't do that. I physically, like, if I'm losing sleep, like, I'm up, like, feeling some type of way at night, and I can't have the conversations that I want to have, or if I'm acting different towards people and all that type of stuff, it's like really affecting me. I can feel that. You have to be in tune with yourself to be able to feel those things.
Yeah.
But I can't be around it. Anything that's bringing me down, I avoid that shit like the plague.
Yeah, you can't ignore the signs. You got to protect your peace. Like, nobody's going to protect your peace like you. So I don't blame you for like. And if there's a person that just refuses to like get out of that negative energy, like there's nothing you can do. Just like they can't protect your peace, you can't save theirs. So it's just like, okay, I'm gonna give you your space. Like, okay, like talk to you later. Like, because some people are committed to being miserable,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's like, okay,
like facts. And that shit is so draining, especially when, in my example, somebody you have to work with, you have to see them every day.
Oh yeah.
And so there's another aspect I think is, and this comes to the one-sided friendships as well, is acknowledging people for who they are. And know, like, for example, this particular person, I know who they are. I know that they're negative. I know that they like drama. I know that they're miserable, but I'm not going to focus on those areas.
Right.
There's other areas to this person. Everybody's not just black and white.
Nope.
There's other areas of this person that are assets to the company. That's what I have to focus on.
No all or nothing thinking, T.
Exactly. Exactly. I gotta focus on this shit. Yes, it's draining. Yes, it's it's frustrating when I'm trying to be positive and this person wants to be negative. But there's yin and yang to everything. We need good, bad, ugly in the world. Like, we need the pessimistic people in the world,
right?
For whatever they do. I don't know, but
and some people are just so used to that. Like if you're not aware of like just the work you have to do with your thoughts and your self-talk, like if you're not aware of that, or if you just choose not to be aware of it or not to participate in it, like you can just really just create these horrible habits that just last for years and years and years and years, and it can be really hard to get out of that.
Yeah, I agree.
But for some people, they're just in this negative cycle, and it's
Some
sad.
people love it. Some people
Oh
love it,
yeah.
and no matter how you try to twist and turn it, they want to be in that shit.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
so, you know what they say, misery loves company.
Mhm.
Mine don't. Mine likes
Uh,
solitude.
mhm.
um,
Mhm.
and not to say I'm never negative, I'm never miserable. That's a lie. I am
Right.
sometimes, but when I am, I'm dolo. Like I
Mhm.
don't want nobody to feel that. I don't want that to. I don't want to put that energy on nobody else.
Mhm.
Um, and sometimes it's bad because sometimes you need to, like I said, sometimes I feel bad venting to Ren, but that's just me. Like, because I feel like the way that I am is I want to process stuff first.
Mhm.
I want to process it. I want to go through it and then I'll talk about it. That's just how I am.
Yeah, if that works for you, that's cool. But if you need to vent,
Hmm.
you can. And
Yeah.
then I think I'm the opposite way. Like I need to vent.
You want to get it out first.
I do. I
Yep.
need to vent, 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 and then I'm processing it, and then whatever. But it's whatever works for like for you. But I'm okay
Hmm.
with you venting. But I felt the same way. Just like I think a week or two ago, we were about to have a meeting, and I just started venting, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm unloading on you. I'm sorry. You're like, no, you're good. But like,
Hmm.
I feel like we both are okay with each other venting, whether we had to process it and then talk about it, or whether we're just coming with raw vent. Like we're
Hmm.
cool with it. Um, so yeah, I'm fine with people venting.
And see, the issue comes in for me. Where the issue is for me is that I get invested. So that's why it's
Mm,
draining. It's not, I'm
okay.
not just listening. I'm
Mhm.
not just passively listening. Like
Mhm.
it's not just going in one ear out the other. Like if you're telling me something that's bothering you, now it's bothering me too.
Mhm.
Which I can take that once every while. You know what I'm saying? Like I can take
Yeah.
that, I can take that once a week or something like that. But if you calling me every day bothered and I'm bothered and I'm pissed off and now I'm angry and now I'm sad because you're sad, like I can't do that every day.
Yeah, it's a lot of
You got to
negative.
figure out something to do with that.
Mhm.
Hmm. That actually have, so I have two coworkers that are negative people.
Mhm.
Um, and I actually had to have this conversation one day, and I was like, I need you to really try to come into work and not find something to complain about.
Mm.
Because there are people like that
Yeah.
are looking for stuff. They're looking for stuff to complain about. Look like their mind doesn't work if something is not wrong.
Mhm. And they thrive. They love when something bad happens or when something wrong is going on. Like they're so happy. Like they're happy to be
That
miserable.
creates
Like
happiness when they can
yeah.
point out something and be, oh my God, this is so wrong.
Mhm. They love it.
And that's, to me, that's like like I said, draining.
It really is.
I'm like, just try your hardest. Try your hardest to not complain for one day.
So, girl.
So yeah, those energies are out there.
Mhm.
For the person that asked this,
Mhm.
those energies are out there, the spirits are out there. But we have to do what we can. We have to set boundaries
Mhm.
for them and ourselves. Um, and we have to do what we can to allow that to not. I'm quick to not answer a phone call. Like if I don't want to speak to somebody, I'm not going to speak to them.
And that's okay. That's a good
Yeah.
boundary to have. Like
Yes, like
that's okay for
I
whoever.
answer
Like
text when I want to answer back.
mhm.
Which is sometimes a bad habit. Like sometimes I do get distracted and I forget to answer or whatever.
Mhm.
But sometimes I just don't have the energy. I Me personally,
Mhm.
my work life is talking all day long.
Girl.
I have people calling me all day long. My name, Tanisha, all day
Mhm.
long. When I get home, if I don't want to talk, I don't want to talk.
Girl.
So that's how I create my boundary is
Same.
unless it's yeah, like, and I know you talk a lot too. So it's like, and then on top of that, we have the podcast where we're just doing nothing but
Yeah.
talking.
Right.
So that's how I create my boundaries is unless it's an emergency, like I'm sorry, but I have to call you when I can. I'll
Yeah.
text you back when I can. When I have to rejuvenate myself first before I'm open to just having, regular conversation.
And I think by you mentioning that, I think, okay, that's a boundary. That's something that you putting in place for yourself. Just to kind of relate it to the one-sided friendship thing before we wrap it up, I feel like people may look at somebody answering a text when they have the energy or doing certain things when they have the energy as like, oh, like what's going on? But again, I feel like that's why communication is key, and like it's good to kind of clarify what's going on, because just because you're not getting what, how can I say this? Like sometimes people have their view of a friendship and then other people have like,
Expectation.
yeah, so like just because somebody isn't doing what you think you need to have done to you or for you, it doesn't mean they're not your friend. That's why it's cool to like say like, look, I'm the kind of person I text back when I want to. Oh, okay, well me, like I like to, you know, blah blah blah. And then you guys kind of come into like an understanding of each other, a respect of each other, and moving forward. That's how adult friendships can function. People have
Yep.
kids, people have families, people have careers, people are just busy and just have a lot going on, and we finding a way to kind of balance everything and each other, it's not
Mhm.
always the easiest, but it's super important, because you can't expect somebody to read your mind and
Yep.
just like, or just do exactly what you want them to do, because they're not your puppet, they're your friend. So
Exactly. That's ooh. I think that was the perfect way to end that. You said that.
yes. So yes, in 2023, we leaving behind one-sided friendships.
And someone bringing down your spirit. We're not going. No, we're not going to take that in 23 this year.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
Nah, we off of that. Great episode.
Thank you, Streets, for sending us the We Are Here's. Please continue to do
Mm-hmm.
so. Please continue to reach out to us. We'll drop our handles so you know where to find us. But you know, we're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Patreon, YouTube. We all over the place now. Patreon Elite, we love you.
We love y'all. Shout out to y'all.
Bye.
Peace.
Peace.